Hey there, Storytelling Podcast here. Glad to see you again. Just a reminder, full versions and exclusive stories are waiting for you on our Patreon. Link below the video and in the channel description. Now, let's get to today's story. You know, I never thought I'd be recording a video like this. Even now, sitting in front of the camera in my half-empty studio, I'm not sure I'm doing the right thing. But this story needs to be told. Perhaps it will prevent someone from making similar mistakes. My name is Ryan, and for the past 5 years, I've run a fairly successful YouTube channel about travel and lifestyle. 3 million subscribers, hundreds of videos, dozens of sponsorship contracts. I was truly living the life I had dreamed of. It all started like a fairy tale. A beloved career, a wonderful family. My wife, Melanie. Our 4-year-old daughter, Sophia. A cozy home in the suburbs of Los Angeles. Every morning I woke up with a smile, ready for new shoots, new ideas, new achievements. Melanie supported all my endeavors, helped with organizing shoots, and often appeared in my vlogs. Our family videos received the most views. Viewers wrote in the comments that we were the perfect couple. A year ago, the channel began to stall a bit. YouTube algorithms were becoming more demanding, competition was growing, and I felt something needed to change. That's when my mother-in-law Christina offered to help with the content. "Ryan dear," she said during Sunday dinner, elegantly dabbing her lips with a napkin, "your videos lack that special something that would appeal to a more mature, financially capable audience. I've worked in television for 20 years. Let me help." Christina was nothing like the stereotypical mother-in-law from jokes. At 52, she looked at most 40, maintained a great figure, and radiated that special energy only people from television have. After divorcing her husband, she had felt somewhat lost in life, and the opportunity to engage in her beloved work again clearly inspired her. The first few months, everything went perfectly. Christina truly brought something new to the channel. Deeper storylines, professional narrative techniques, a nuanced understanding of the audience. Statistics grew, revenues increased. We spent more and more time together, discussing ideas, planning shoots, working on scripts. Often we'd stay in the studio until late at night, editing the next episode. "You work so well together," Melanie rejoiced, not suspecting that this closeness would become the beginning of the end. Gradually, I began to notice how my perception of Christina was changing. How my gaze lingered on her slender figure when she bent over the monitor. How pleasant her hair smelled when she accidentally touched me during work. How I wanted to extend our evening discussions for a couple more hours, just to be near her. I tried to push these thoughts away, convinced myself it was just professional admiration for an experienced mentor. But I increasingly caught her returning glances, noticed how she primped before our meetings, how the timbre of her voice changed when we were alone. The air in the studio became more and more electrified, and our innocent touches became less and less accidental. I probably should have stopped right then. Should have come up with some excuse to end our collaboration. But the channel's success was intoxicating, and the closeness with Christina became increasingly exciting. We both understood where this was heading, but we continued to play with fire, as if not realizing how destructive the flames could be. It happened at the end of a particularly intense day of shooting. We were preparing a major piece about the influence of social media on modern relationships. Now I understand the irony of this situation. Melanie had gone away for the weekend with Sophia to visit her sister, and Christina and I stayed to edit the footage. We needed to meet the deadline. A major brand had ordered an advertising integration, and time was tight. The studio gradually sank into evening twilight. We sat shoulder to shoulder in front of the monitor, discussing where to best splice the frames. From fatigue, my head was already slightly spinning, or maybe it was Christina's perfume. Light, with notes of vanilla and something exotic. Our fingers kept accidentally touching when we reached for the keyboard or mouse. "We need a smoother transition here," she said, leaning slightly toward me. Her breath tickled my cheek. "Let's try with a fade to black." I turned to her, and our faces were dangerously close to each other. Time seemed to stop. In the half-darkness of the studio, her eyes looked especially deep, alluring. I don't remember who leaned in first. It all happened simultaneously, as if we were pulled together by some invisible force. The kiss was long, hungry, completely insane. When we finally pulled away from each other, her eyes reflected the same confusion that was raging in my soul. "This is madness," she whispered, but her hands were already sliding over my shoulders. "Complete madness," I agreed, pulling her closer. "We shouldn't—" My words drowned in another kiss. The next few hours merged into some kind of crazy kaleidoscope. We gave in to passion right there, in the studio where we had recently filmed family videos. It was passionate, tender, and agonizing all at once. Somewhere at the edge of consciousness, the thought kept nagging that we had crossed a line, that this was irreparable, that we needed to stop. But we couldn't, or didn't want to. At that moment, the whole world narrowed to the space of my studio, to just the two of us. Only toward dawn, when the first rays of sun began to break through the blinds, did reality crash down on us in all its mercilessness. We silently put ourselves in order, not looking at each other. "Melanie must never know," Christina finally said. In her voice was a mixture of guilt and some kind of doomed determination. "This was a mistake. It won't happen again." I nodded, but we both knew we were lying to ourselves. The next day we tried to act as usual. During Sunday dinner, we discussed future episodes, joked with Melanie, played with Sophia. But something had subtly changed. In every glance, in every accidental touch now lurked the memory of that night. We carefully avoided being alone, but this only intensified the tension. A week passed. We barely talked, communicating only about work matters. I convinced myself that this was better, that the passion would gradually fade, that we could simply forget that night as a momentary lapse of reason. But every time she entered the room, my heart started beating faster, and I saw how her breathing changed when our eyes met. The following Friday, we again stayed late in the studio. "We need to talk," she said. We talked for several hours. About how wrong this was, about what a blow it would be for Melanie, about how we needed to stop before it was too late. And then we were kissing madly again, and all rational arguments crumbled to dust. That night we booked a hotel room for the first time, as if the final boundary had been crossed. The next 3 months turned into some surrealistic spectacle. During work hours, we were the perfect team, a successful blogger and his experienced producer. At family gatherings, we played the roles of caring son-in-law and wise mother-in-law. And weekend nights. On weekends, we lost our heads with passion, meeting in cheap motels on the outskirts of town or in rental apartments, forgetting everything in the world. Our channel continued to grow. "There's such amazing chemistry between you," sponsors would say during business meetings. If only they knew how right they were. We made videos about family values, gave advice on strengthening relationships, still appeared on camera as a trio, me, Melanie, and Christina. Each such video was like a sharp knife, slowly slicing through the soul. The worst were the family dinners. Seeing Melanie look at both of us with love, hearing her rejoice in our wonderful collaboration, it was unbearable. "Mom, you seem to have grown younger," she would say, pouring Christina more wine. "It's all Ryan's fault. With him, it's impossible not to feel young," she would reply. And the ambiguity of these words made my chest go cold. Sophia often asked for Grandma Chris to stay and read her a bedtime story. In such moments I saw how Christina's hands trembled as she turned the pages of the children's book. After my daughter fell asleep, Christina often cried in my arms. "We're monsters," she whispered. "How could we? She's my daughter." I silently stroked her hair, finding no words of comfort. Each of our meetings began with vows that this was the last time, that it wouldn't happen again, that we needed to stop before it was too late. But we couldn't. This obsession pulled us deeper, like quicksand. The harder we tried to break free, the deeper we sank. "Let's leave," Christina would sometimes suggest. "Start over somewhere where no one knows us." But we both knew it was impossible. We both began to change. I became irritable, started drinking. At first a little, for courage before family gatherings, then more and more. In Christina's eyes appeared a kind of doom. She lost weight, grew haggard, often complained of insomnia. Melanie noticed these changes but attributed everything to stress from working on the channel. One evening, as we lay in another nondescript hotel room, Christina said, "You know what our biggest mistake is? We thought we could control this, that it would just be a fling that would help us feel alive. But such things can't be controlled. They either destroy you, or you find the strength to stop." I remained silent, but we both knew. We no longer had the strength to stop. We were like two people trapped in a burning building. We knew we needed to escape, but all exits seemed blocked. Every day waking up, I'd look at Melanie sleeping beside me and feel like the worst scoundrel. Every time Sophia happily ran to hug Grandma Chris, I saw Christina barely holding back tears. We had created our personal hell, and were now slowly burning in it. The channel also began to suffer. There was a kind of falseness, pretense in the videos. Viewers sensed this. Questions about what was happening to us increasingly appeared in the comments. Sponsors began to show concern. But we couldn't stop. We were like addicts, knowing each new dose brought us closer to the end, but unable to quit. The culmination came suddenly and painfully. Melanie had always been much more perceptive than we thought. Perhaps she had suspected for a long time, just didn't want to believe the obvious. Or maybe a mother's heart told her. That evening she checked my phone while I was in the shower. Found my messages with Christina in Telegram. The messages were encrypted but quite obvious to someone looking for the truth. "Can't wait to see you. Yesterday was incredible. Miss your touch." Banal phrases that took on a monstrous meaning in the context of messages between a son-in-law and mother-in-law. Later, Melanie told me that her first reaction was hysterical laughter. The very thought that her husband and mother could. But then she remembered all the oddities of recent months, all those little things she had attributed to fatigue and work stress. She didn't make a scene right away. For 2 days she gathered evidence, checked call records, reviewed footage from surveillance cameras at the house. She figured out exactly which days I was staying late to edit, and her mother was visiting a friend. She compiled a complete picture of our betrayal, methodically and mercilessly, like a prosecutor preparing an indictment. On the 3rd day, she invited us both to a family dinner. She left Sophia with my mother, and now I understand that this was deliberate. Melanie set the table as usual, even ordered Christina's favorite wine. We sat, casually chatting about the latest channel news, and only some barely perceptible note in my wife's voice made me nervous. And then, when we had almost finished dessert, she pulled out a folder. "I've gathered some materials for a new video," she said with a smile that chilled me inside. "I think our subscribers would be interested to learn how far a family business can go." She began to lay out on the table printouts of our correspondence, photos from surveillance cameras, call details. Methodically, one after another, like cards in solitaire. We were silent. What could be said? Any excuse, any explanation would only worsen the situation. "How long?" asked Melanie, and in this question was such pain that I physically felt something breaking inside. 8 months, Christina answered quietly. Her voice trembled. 8 months, repeated Melanie. "My mother and my husband. 8 months." She didn't shout, didn't have a hysterical fit, didn't throw dishes. She just sat, looking at us with a terrible, devastating clarity. "Get out," she finally said. "Both of you. I don't want to see you in this house. Ever." Christina tried to say something, reached out to her daughter. "Don't you dare," Steel cut through Melanie's voice for the first time. "You're no longer my mother. You no longer have a daughter." The news spread like wildfire. In our town, such stories don't remain secret for long. The channel lost half its subscribers in a week. Comments turned into a stream of hatred and disgust. Sponsors terminated contracts one after another, not wanting to associate their brands with family drama. But this was nothing compared to the reaction of loved ones. Sophia stopped talking to me. When I tried to approach her during the rare permitted visits, she would hide behind her mother's back. "You're bad," she said once. "You hurt Mom and Grandma Chris." Those words made me want to howl. Relatives divided into two camps, but most, of course, were against us. Friends turned away one by one. My own mother stopped answering her phone. A year has passed. I live alone in a small apartment on the outskirts of town. The channel is practically dead. I release videos once a month, mostly on neutral topics. Comments are still disabled. I can't bring myself to read what people write about us. Several expose videos have been made about our story, even some documentary for a cable channel. I haven't watched. I already know every detail by heart. Christina moved to another state. They say she got a job as a consultant at a local television station, changed her last name, is trying to start over. We don't communicate. The last time we saw each other was at the divorce hearing. We didn't even look at each other. Our great passion crumbled to dust as soon as it lost its veil of secrecy. It turned out that without the adrenaline of forbiddenness, without the constant tension of secrecy, there was nothing left between us except bitter shame and regret. I see Melanie only at meetings with our daughter, which take place under the supervision of a social worker. Sophia has started to thaw a little. Last week, for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to be hugged. This gave some ghostly hope that not all is lost. Although, who am I kidding? Some things can't be fixed, some wounds never fully heal. I see a psychotherapist twice a week. "Tell me why you did it," she asks. And I don't know, truly don't know. I could blame it all on a midlife crisis, on the desire to feel young and desirable, on an obsession with the channel's success. But these would be excuses. The truth is that I simply allowed myself to cross a line. Once, twice, 3 times, until stepping over my own conscience became the norm. Every morning I wake up thinking about how much I destroyed with my own hands. Career, reputation. That's not even the main thing. I destroyed a family, deprived my daughter of a normal childhood, stole from Melanie her faith in love and trust in those close to her, took away her mother. They still don't speak, and I know that this break may never be healed. I wish I could say I regret everything, but that would be untrue. I regret the pain I caused to loved ones, the destroyed relationships and betrayed trust, that I didn't find the strength to stop when it was still possible. But the feelings themselves, they were real. Wrong, destructive, but real. And that's probably the scariest thing. That even now, understanding the full scale of destruction, I can't completely erase those moments from my heart. A few days ago, Melanie sent me her first personal message in a year. She asked if it was true that I was seeing a psychotherapist, if I was truly trying to change. I answered honestly, yes, I'm trying. Not to win her back, I know that's impossible, but to understand myself, to not repeat anything like this in the future, so that my daughter might someday be proud of her father again. Recording this video, I'm not looking for forgiveness or understanding. I want my story to be a warning to others. Passion can be intoxicating. Forbidden love can seem especially attractive. But the price you'll have to pay always turns out to be higher than it seems at first. Always. I lost everything that was dear to me. And you know what? No thrill, no passion is worth the tears I saw in my daughter's eyes. The pain I caused to the woman I loved. The disappointment I brought to everyone who trusted me. If you stand on the threshold of such a choice, stop. Think about those you love. about those who love you. Because some roads lead to places from which there is no return. That's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this story. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new episodes. And if you want more stories like this without limitations, check out our Patreon. Link below the video and in the channel description. See you next time.